selling your business is I call it heavy lift, right? You're at you put a whole career into it, and now you have to change your mindset, and you are now talking to multiple parties about, why they should buy your business and why this is a great opportunity for them, but in a lot of cases, way prior to the LOI stage, high qualified buyers who put forth initial bids, indication of interest, we call them in a trade, decide to back out. It's very common. And today I was going to spend a few minutes talking about a deal that we worked on that are working on and why some of the buyers backed out and some of the reasons way before the LOI stage. Hi, everybody. My name is kdee, President of Osage Advisors. Welcome back to our podcast, The Ins and Outs of Selling a Business, and this week's big hurdle. So the buyer community, as I said, can be fickle. I've used this analogy in the past. There's 99 reasons not to buy a business and one reason to buy a business. So at Osage, we run a competitive process, an auction. So our goal here is to bring multiple parties to the table at the same time, so you can determine who's the best buyer that provides the best value. So, our job is to filter out the noise and bring high qualified buyers. So, and in this situation we're talking about, we had a deal we're working on, and we've had extreme interest in it. Probably one of the highest interesting deals we've had, or buyers loved. Okay, that we've brought to the market. The anticipation for the deal coming to market, the involvement by the buyer community, the interest in moving a deal to the next level, going through our process was quite significant. So, we went out and we ended up getting enormous amount, probably double the number of bids we get. And so, we went through with our client and we brought, high qualified buyers to the table. Usually we bring six or so buyers. In this case, we brought 9 because we had so many bids. And some people put, forth some really nice offers. And, our experience tells us that buyers are going to drop out before the LOI stage for numerous reasons, right? And some of these reasons are perplexing to you and to us because, your revenue has gone up and up and up, and this year has gone up significantly. Your EBITDA has gone up, up and up, and this year significantly. And, you're in an industry that the 5-year outlook is, high single-digit growth. All the indicators are there. Everybody likes the market spot. And so they put forth a number. And then you meet with them. And then you get through them. And then you're providing, information, not just a SIM or the book we put together, but, following up prior to issuing the LOI, we send them updated financials and backlogs and all this good stuff, right? And then you get a phone call, we do, from some of the bidders say, look, we really love this deal, but. And the but is always okay, right? And so in this case, you're growing too fast. We can't get the financing. We can't convince our bank to provide the financing we need to do this transaction. So they put a number in, and just for example, they got to put in 30% equity, and the bank's going to take a 70% leverage or a loan on it, and that's how they kind of go through it. And then the bank looks at the deal and said, we don't understand the sustainability of the profitability, moving forward, right? Because you've gone from, double-digit growth, 4 years in a row, and your EBITDA is double-digit growth, 4 years in a row. And the banks look at the deal and say, hey, we're not going to fund it at that level. And so what happens is, in this case, with this buyer, they didn't want to put in more equity. They're uncomfortable, putting in more equity into the transaction. So instead of going maybe 70% debt, 30% equity, maybe we do 50-50. And our client really liked the buyer. And, I think it was, in our opinion, short-sighted. And we had the conversations, well, put your best foot forward, right? if there could be a deal here, just to kind of bow to the process because you can't get the leverage you want, put a deal forward that works for you. And, you don't know what you don't know till our client looks and negotiate. There could be aspects of it. For example, our client in this case said he didn't want to roll equity. He was looking to retire in a couple of years. After our meetings, he wants to roll equity, right? So, with this buyer, they didn't have a component to, roll some equity in a deal, but, we maybe to mitigate their risk and their outlay of equity, he may have taken a bigger piece. We don't know, right? But they backed out because from a leverage component, they couldn't get the funding to do the deal. And they felt that the business, when their initial IOI or bid was probably overextended himself. So they backed out, right? We had another buyer. Again, by the way, we have several high qualified buyers that are just excited about this transaction. So we had another party that, they came up. I don't want to call them reasons why we didn't do the deal moving forward. Reason why we're bowing out prior to the LOI stage. We're not even in due diligence. Prior said, we really like the business. We have experience in the business, but we're concerned about the ownership, how long he's willing to stay, right? They don't have a platform. They don't have a business. They're not strategic. They were what we call independent sponsor private equity. And so they didn't have the operator on the bench to kind of fill his role after a couple of years. So that was reason one. Reason two is you have, supply chain. You have a couple of key vendors you've been working with. And by the way, our client has been working with these key vendors for 25 years and is considered one of the top customers of theirs, in the world. They have an amazing relationship. We're concerned that maybe the supplier is going to, can't fulfill the orders or they're going to bow out or something else. And then three, in this case, they've have several customers that make up a significant portion, customer concentration. Even though it was disclosed right up front, there's customer concentration. And the top three customers are driving, they are driving the industry. So they kind of bowed out, right? So there are, like I said, there's one reason to do the deal. There's 99 reasons not to do the deal. So in this case, these two parties, bowed out. A third party bowed out because they liked the deal, but, they got distracted, right? They have another deal that at the same time, they just signed a letter of intent. So we call it bandwidth. They don't have the resources, the bandwidth, the people to kind of do two deals at the same time. Hey, we want to come back and visit you, in 6 months. So that's why we run our process. That's why we won the auction, is because people will bow out, even though they're high qualified, even though they come into meetings, even though we all spend time together, there's reasons why people bow out. So our goal, again, through an auction process is to bring several high qualified buyers to the table, because we know someone's going to bow out, for one. Two, we know there's probably a buyer that shows up that you're not comfortable with, not the right fit for you, which is number one on the list of doing a deal. And so by providing multiple options, you still have resources, you still have good high qualified buyers that you can negotiate. And we are negotiating with 5 other parties on this deal specifically, looking for LOIs in the upcoming weeks. And we are confident our client's going to pick the right buyer that makes the right fit. He's already identified 3 of them that he really likes on top of the other ones to make this deal happen. So if you're a business owner out there, and you're dealing with one buyer, we always say one buyer is no buyer because there's a million reasons, again, 99 plus what they won't do the deal. So running a process, running an auction, having multiple parties at the table gives you options so you can choose and pick, because you think they're going to buy you, but there's a lot of reasons they won't buy you. So having those options available to you at that time allows you to move forward with a transaction that works for you. Again, my name's kdee, President of Osage Advisors. Thanks for being with us for this week's Big Hurdle, part of our podcast, The Ins and Outs of Selling a Business. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. To learn more about Osage Advisors, please visit our website at osageadvisors.com or shoot me an email at kdee@osageadvisors.com or feel free to pick up the phone and give me a call at 860-767-3273, extension 1001. Thanks again for being with us, and have a great day.